Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday morning from Personal Travel Management and Jenny Revez. So, keeping with the theme of talking about different destinations, and I work with amazing suppliers, which help me to put together the most amazing trips for clients. I wanted to bring one of my most favorite suppliers on to talk today, and that's Darcie from Anderson Vacations. So, as you all know, I've been in the industry a very long time. And I wanted to, as we go through this process where we still can't travel anywhere, it's always great to dream and to think about destinations. And I was thinking that for this week, continuing on with the Canadian theme, we would talk with Anderson about the different kinds of travel you can do within your own country. Because as we know, we tend to want to travel outside our country rather than see our own country. So I'm going to hand you over to Darcie. Darcie's going to tell you a little bit about Anderson, and then we'll talk about some different trips that they do that I think you all might be very interested in. So Darcie, take it away.
Thanks, Jenny. It's great to be here. So Anderson Vacations is a Canadian company. We are Calgary based and we are over 26 years old. So we've been around for a while. If you're working with Anderson Vacations, you're working with a Canadian company, so you're shopping local, which nowadays is more important than ever, I think. We offer all kinds of packages within Canada, from self-drives, little city getaways, weekend getaways, to Rocky Mountaineer packages, all kinds of different opportunities to explore your own backyard, as you said, Jenny.
Now, speaking of that, let's talk about, because I know you have a really good one on Vancouver Island, and it's a culinary experience in Victoria. Let's start with that.
That's my very favorite one. So, because I personally live on Vancouver Island, so I do like to explore my own backyard. And I've been up and down most of the island quite extensively, but that particular tour is called Delicious, which I think is a very appropriate name for this tour, because it really focuses on the culinary side, a little bit of wine, some cider, a little bit of beer, that kind of thing. I'm actually personally hosting that tour. We have a departure in September, but it can also be done as a self-drive vacation. But that particular tour does things like a beautiful winery where we have a little charcuterie and the views are spectacular, that kind of thing. So that's definitely one of my favorite tours.
And where else can you do the culinary? Are they all over Canada or just certain areas?
You know, if you're doing, we do independent packages that can have components of the culinary side. Most cities, in fact, in Canada do have their own foodie tours. We often build them into our independent packages. So if you're looking for a vacation package within Canada, but you don't want to travel with a group, because we have that as well. We do small group tours. But if you want to do it independently with you and your partner, we'll build these fully customizable packages, and quite often we'll include a foodie tour. And I think that's the best way to get to the heart of any city.
That's awesome. Speaking of small group, what is the maximum on a small group tour?
Excuse me, we have two kinds of tours. We have classic tours and tours of distinction. In our classic tours, the maximum size is 28 guests. Quite often we don't get quite 28, so it's actually even smaller than that, which is really nice, especially now. People aren't looking for that huge coach filled with tons and tons of people. They're looking for a more intimate experience, and that's what we offer. So our classic tours are a maximum of 28 guests, and our tours of distinction are a maximum of 21 guests, which is even smaller. And on those tours, on average, we get 14 to 16 passengers on those. So really intimate. And what's really special about the tours of distinction is that they go to off the beaten path places. So a lot of our northern destinations with the Aurora Borealis and polar bears and really exotic things.
Oh, wow. And you were telling me about, there was one trip you did where you were able to sleep, was it in an igloo?
Yes, I was. I've been in the industry, I think probably longer than you, Jenny. I think about 32 years. And it's very hard to wow me now, because I've had some really amazing opportunities to travel around the world, and especially in Canada. I've seen pretty much all of Canada. And that's definitely one of the experiences that I'll never forget. And that was in Nunavut. So a lot of our tours will do Alaska, Yukon. and then up into the Northwest Territories as well. So I was in Nunavut and we stayed overnight in an igloo. And when I first got there, I looked inside and I thought, no, I'm not doing this. I'll just get the iconic photo. But then I decided to sleep overnight inside, and honest to goodness, in the morning when I woke up, I swear my face was frozen in a smile. Just the most spectacular thing. In the middle of the night, it's actually made of ice. The igloos we were in were made of ice, and it was a full moon that night. So you could see the light coming through the glass. It was amazing. Yeah, those are like iconic experiences.
Can clients do that?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, you can. It's not part of our group tour, although our one of our group tours does go through Nunavut. It's not part of the group tour, but independently, people are traveling. We can put together a package that does include that experience. And then there's things like that we can have them surrounded with over 3,000 reindeer in the same area. Yeah. So imagine it's really chilly. And of course we have winter clothing rentals to make sure that all of our guests are nice and warm. So if your clients are coming from somewhere where they don't have the appropriate clothing, we can provide that. So they're nice and cozy, put them on the back of snowmobiles and take them out, and the herd of reindeer will come around. It's absolutely amazing.
Can you, with the snowmobiles, is that something you have to have experience beforehand? Can you ride them yourself? Do you have to have a guide with you?
In that particular experience, you're actually with a guide. So the guide is driving the snowmobile, but we do offer many other experiences. So for example, the Yukon, or up in the Northwest Territories. Jenny and I know all about the Yukon because we've traveled there together, where you can do snowmobiling experiences. And I just recently returned from there, from Whitehorse in that area. And this time I had my own snowmobile. The last time I went was with Jenny, and we actually shared a snowmobile. And one of the experiences that I recall most was the fact that I think Jenny was driving, and a mama moose and her baby virtually jumped out in front of us and crossed the trail right in front of us. It was absolutely incredible. Now there's no guarantees you're going to see that. We were very, very fortunate, but up in the Yukon, there's all kinds of opportunities to see wildlife. So it's incredible.
Tell me, okay, moving on to wildlife, what other kinds of wildlife tours have you got? Because I see on the website there's a lot.
Yeah, we do actually. We have all kinds. In British Columbia, we have some packages that include bear watching, and that's very, very popular. And then in the Rockies, and a lot of the independent packages, of course, going through the Rockies, you have the opportunity to see the caribou and the deer and so on. For some of us, who I'm an Alberta girl originally, it was like growing up, that's what we saw, and it was pretty normal. But there's a lot of people who haven't had those experiences, so they're looking for those kinds of things. Probably my favorite ultimate Canadian experience with wildlife would be Churchill, Manitoba. Getting up to see the polar bears, and I've been fortunate enough to be in Churchill not only in the fall, which would be October, November, the primary time when all the polar bears are sort of in abundance in Churchill, but I've also gone in the summertime, and the summer experience entirely different than the winter experience. But it's all about the beluga whales, and the wildflowers. It is absolutely beautiful. And I must say, before you go to Churchill, I highly recommend at least a 2-day stop in Winnipeg. And I've had people say, Winnipeg, really? But it is
why?
It's the best. It is a beautiful city. It really is, especially in the summertime. They have the most incredible spa there called Thermaeus Spa. It's like a Scandinavian spa. It is beautiful. The food scene, the restaurant scene in Winnipeg, and the art scene is really blossomed. It's really beautiful. Yeah, and they also have the Human Rights Museum. So that's a world-class museum to visit. So to do that for a couple of days and then head up to Churchill, it's a perfect vacation package.
How do you, when you go to Churchill, is that a scheduled flight from Winnipeg, or is it a chartered flight? How do you do that?
There is scheduled service with Comair. There may be other service as well. I'm not sure if Air Canada flies up there, but definitely Comair flies up there. You can also take the train. The train was out of service for a while, but you can take the train. I recommend taking the train one way and flying one way as part of the journey. But Via Rail is definitely a huge part of a lot of the packages that we do all across Canada. So that's something we can talk about too, because I think one of the best experiences, one of the best possible ways to see Canada is via rail. And I think I might have told you this story before, but for people who have young adults in their lives, like I have, my son is, well now he's 24, but when he was 22, I think it was, he and I took a mother-son trip on Via Rail from Winnipeg to Vancouver, and it was 2 nights on the train. And he's very well traveled. He's traveled the world, done some backpacking in South America and all over the place. And if you were to ask him what was his favorite trip, he would tell you Via Rail. Yeah, he loved it.
Wow, that's incredible. That's really, really good.
It's a great way to
Why?
connect.
Because you would just, I don't want to say you stuck together for that time. So
Yeah. Well, there's no Wi-Fi. There's no Wi-Fi. So I think what happens is for the first couple of hours, it's a little bit stressful because you're like, I don't have my phone. What am I going to do? You know? And then suddenly you feel this sense of peace. You let go. You let go of all that stuff, and then you really connect. And we had a wonderful time, not only playing cards and just talking, visiting, and looking out the window, but meeting people from all around the world. So we walked away from that experience really feeling lighter and healthier, I think, mentally healthier, because we disconnected a bit. So I highly recommend that. And then we also do packages with Rocky Mountaineer, which is a really incredible luxury train opportunity. Have you done Rocky Mountaineer?
I've done it a couple of times. It's incredible. I
It
took
is.
my mom on it a few years ago,
Yeah.
and it was just wow. The whole thing was wow.
I love it. I love the fact that quite often people will travel within Canada and they want to do drive, and self-drive is a great way to do it. We can put together great self-drive packages, but it always seems like either the husband or the wife is driving, and then someone's not getting to see the views and getting to really relax and experience it. Whereas on Rocky Mountaineer, going through the Rockies with a glass of wine in one hand and a camera in the other, it's truly a vacation package for everyone. The 2 people traveling together, or however many people traveling, everyone really gets to experience it and enjoy it.
One of the final things, or a couple of things that I wanted to ask you, Haida Gwaii. I understand Haida Gwaii is a huge, one of your best-selling packages, so to speak.
Yeah, we do. We have a custom, we have a small group tour. That is one of the tours of distinction. So that's the small, less than 21 passengers off the beaten path.
And you say a lot of Canadians go on that trip.
It's mostly Canadians, believe it or not. Although, 1 in 3 international guests coming to Canada are looking for an Indigenous experience. Also, Canadians are, and the majority of the people that go on our Haida Gwaii tour are actually BC residents and Alberta residents. I think it's slowly moving east because it's awareness, really being aware of this incredible experience in northern BC. It's very local and authentic. There's experiences like we will take the guests into a local's home and they'll have a local made Indigenous meal. And a lot of the Indigenous culture is really reflecting on, they tell their stories. It's a lot of storytelling. And I think that's what people are looking for. You want to get into that destination and really embrace history, the stories, the people, the culture, the food, and all those things. So I think Haida Gwaii is an excellent example of that. And it really is one of our best selling tours. And if you're looking for nature, wildlife, and so on, and we keep tweaking that tour, making it better and better. It's always been great, but it gets better all the time. So I'm really looking forward to the next season when we can get it.
When do you run that trip?
We have like several departures. This last year we had 4 departures. So we went all through like the summer and into the fall, and they do sell out quite quickly. So if people are interested in that, I'm not sure at this point for this summer what's going to be happening, but absolutely for next summer and hopefully for this fall, we will have our departures going.
Okay. My final thing is, with everybody concerned about the world and sustainability and giving back and generally taking care of this for our next generation, what's Anderson doing with sustainability?
We're very aware of that. It's always on our minds, and we have conversations about it on a weekly basis about what we want to do and how we want to move forward to ensure, like, we all feel like this is a reset button, that we've been given this opportunity now to reflect. And I think moving forward, we are very, very aware of our footprint and what we are leaving behind. We're trying not to leave anything behind. When we're going into these destinations, we're actually trying to leave it better than we found it. So even more so than sustainability, leaving it the way it is, we're trying to improve it and make it even better. And we do work with the local people to try and understand how our impact in the community is a positive one, and how we don't want to make put too much pressure on the community or make any changes that they're not looking for. So we do work with the locals to make sure that we're all on the same page.
Wonderful. Well, thank you. I really, really appreciate you taking the time out this morning to talk with all of my people and everybody out there, learning a bit more about Canada and dreaming and getting ready for the day that we can start traveling again. So
Thank you. Thank you, Jenny, for having me. It's really fun. I love to talk about Canada. My passion lies within Canada. So I'd love to join you again. Thanks to everyone for joining us.
Perfect. Thank you, everybody. I know it was a little bit longer than normal, but I really thought this could be very valuable for all of us. Thanks again. Bye for now.
Bye for now.